Hi everybody. Hey. So my presentation is about formalizing hip-hop dance because it's like an underdog in the arts world and dance world. So a lot of people think very lowly of it, but I am going to try to make you guys see it in a better light today. So here's my experience. I did Step Up 3D. I choreographed for Rhythmic Blue at Yale, Student Institute for the Gifted at Yale, also to Temple University, World Dance Day in Philadelphia, International Arts a long time ago. Okay. Yeah, I did all that stuff. And I also teach at New Haven Academy High School and Payne Whitney Gym. So, these students inspired me to get to my point today. They asked so many questions about hip hop. They were international students, and some were from like New Jersey and New York. And they didn't know anything about hip hop, even the American students. So I spent a lot of time explaining to them what hip hop is not. Hip hop is not this graffiti font. It's not that guy with the baggy clothes on. It's none of that. So it's a lot more sophisticated and intricate and complex than most people think. So I'm showing you this guy with a hoodie on in a dance studio because a lot of people think you go and, you know, with your sweats and your hoodie and you go hip-hop in the studio. But that's not where it came from. It came from the streets, and it's more of a feeling that you want to teach than, I don't know how to explain it. So there's this very funny video online. It's called This Is Hip Hop. Look it up when you go home. And there's this woman and she's saying, this is how you pop. Boom, bam. It's so bad. And none of this is hip hop. If you ever want to talk about hip hop, you never need to use a graffiti font. One of my good friends is a production assistant for Chris Brown and his choreographers, and it's just amazing the way hip hop dance is integrated into society. Like, this is Dancing with the Stars, and they're using like LED technology in the costumes, and hip hop is just like robust to me. So let me tell you guys a little bit of history about hip hop dance. It started in New York in the South Bronx. Basically, people from the South Bronx could not go to nightclubs because of racism and such. So they had their own parties and they developed their own system. And I forgot to explain the b-boying and rocking that came from New York. Okay, in LA they were doing the same thing. It was James Brown and the funk movement, and they developed popping, boogaloo, and locking. And what happened was they integrated, and the line down the middle is hip-hop dance. So funk and hip-hop came together, and the movement vocabulary is now what we know as hip-hop dance. And hip-hop is also folk dance, American folk dance. Also, the United Nations does not recognize hip-hop as a culture. And that makes me a little bit upset. So, the problem for me is hip-hop is misrepresented in pop culture and media, particularly because you just see, like, you know, minorities mainly doing this, you know. And that's not what it is. It's a lot more intricate. There's a whole, sorry, I should have practiced more. Also, YouTube makes me really mad. People can easily go on YouTube and emulate something and say they're doing hip-hop, and it is not hip-hop at all. It's essentially street jazz, which is what I'll get to soon. Street jazz is a mashup like modern jazz, anything. Sorry. So, here is some photos of my students. This is New Haven Academy, and that's at Payne Whitney. And I'm just going to keep teaching what I know, which is what I've learned from pioneers and people who've learned from pioneers what exactly hip-hop is. So students come into my classes often and think they know what hip-hop is. And they get really disappointed when they realize it's a lot harder than what they thought. And I also realized that the more my students were asking me questions, I realized I didn't know anything about hip-hop dance. So in an effort to do research on hip-hop dance, I realized there wasn't anything to research. I had to go by word of mouth. So solutions perhaps might be making the knowledge more accessible. I'm going to continue teaching it for what it is. Observe and record developments in the style, and I missed the last one. Facilitate. So, street jazz is what you see mainly on stage with a lot of pop stars. I love street jazz, but it's not hip hop. You need to, I feel like to my students, when I explain to them the context of what hip hop dance is and was, they execute the movement better. So you can either, careers in hip hop, you can either battle, which is the lower half of the images, or you can go into a commercial scene. But there's really no other route, because if you teach like me, you get frustrated because people don't really take you seriously. So my goals are find ways to share the integrity of hip hop dance, gain acceptance as an American form of folk dance, because that's what hip hop is, gain recognition as an important part of American culture and arts, and detach the stereotypes, which is what I spend a lot of my time doing in class. So what I'm going to do is continue teaching hip hop as I've learned for what it is, as I learned that for what it is. I'm interviewing a lot of choreographers and pioneers in hip hop dance from LA, like Don Campbell, who invented locking. You got, Rerun. You guys have seen that. And I'm also working on a book, and I'm just going to compile everything these people know into a book so you guys can buy it and actually know what hip hop is. And thank you.